Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Tanvi Taneja with the Midday News. The headlines. Parliament passes Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020. 3 Gujarat-based Ayurveda institutes to be merged into one. Infiltration attempts by Pakistani terrorists have reduced in Jammu and Kashmir in last 2.5 years, says Minister of State for Home Affairs G. Kishan Reddy. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 78.53%. Over 39,42,000 people recovered so far. Yoshihide Suga elected as Japan's new premier. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates the new leader. Renowned scholar Dr. Kapila Vatsyayan passes away. And today is International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. The Parliament has passed the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020, with Rajya Sabha approving it today. The Lok Sabha has already passed the bill. The bill seeks to establish an Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda and declare it an institute of national importance. The bill also has the provision to merge 3 Ayurveda institutes situated in Jamnagar, Gujarat, into one. The institutes are the Institute of Postgraduate Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Shri Gulab Kunverba Mahavidyalaya, and the Institute of Ayurvedic Pharmaceutical Sciences. The proposed institute will be situated in the campus of Gujarat Ayurveda University, Jamnagar. Replying to a discussion, Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan said the government is committed to promote the ancient medicine system, including Ayurveda. He said Ayush Ministry has initiated the process to give a deemed university status to all its national institutes.
Ayurveda and the Indian systems of medicine are concerned, this government is in full sync with the sentiments of the upper house. The Ministry of Ayush has already initiated steps to grant deemed university status under de novo category to all national institutes in the country under its control. The proposals are being submitted to the Ministry of Education and UGC.
On members' questions why Jamnagar Institute has been selected for making an institute of national importance, the minister said it has been chosen in an objective manner as Jamnagar institutes are the oldest Ayurveda institutes. Earlier participating in the discussion, TMC MP Dr. Shantanu Sen questioned the bill, saying it is in contradiction of the new education policy. Professor Ram Gopal Yadav of Samajwadi Party demanded the centre to provide more assistance to states to ensure better availability of medicines in the hospitals. While supporting the bill, Prashant Nanda of BJD said the world is looking towards India for quality education in the field of Ayurveda. Terrorist incidents in Jammu and Kashmir have reduced significantly after the revocation of Article 370 from the newly carved Union territory. This was stated by the Minister of State for Home Affairs in G. Kishan Reddy in a written reply in the Rajya Sabha today. He said no major terror attack took place in the hinterland of the country from 5th of August 2019 to 9th of September 2020. The minister informed that a total number of 455 terrorist-related incidents have been reported in Jammu and Kashmir within 402 days prior to revocation of Article 370. He said a total number of 211 terrorist incidents have been reported between 5th of August 2019 to 9th of September 2020. The minister said that the government has adopted a policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism. He added that various measures have been taken by the government for strengthening the security apparatus and strict enforcement of law to effectively deal with the challenges posed by the terrorist organizations. The infiltration attempts by the Pakistani terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir have come down in the last 2.5 years. In a written reply in the Rajya Sabha today, Minister of State for Home Affairs G. Kishan Reddy informed that a total number of 143 infiltrations occurred in the year 2018 and 141 infiltrations in the year 2019. In this year till July, 48 infiltrations happened in Jammu and Kashmir. The minister informed that a total number of 257 terrorists in the year 2018 and 157 terrorists in the year 2019 were killed in J&K. This year, 168 terrorists have been killed in the Union Territory till the 9th of September.
The Union Government is considering a revision in the limit of creamy layer for other backward classes OBCs. In a written reply in the Rajya Sabha today, Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment, Krishan Pal Gurjar, said that the modalities of the revised limit are under examination of the government. He was responding to a question wherein it was asked whether the government has prepared a proposal to increase the creamy layer limit of OBCs to 12 lakh rupees. Congress today questioned the government's measures taken for containing the spread of coronavirus in the country and demanded that compensation must be given to migrant workers and the poor who lost their lives during the lockdown. Participating in a discussion in Rajya Sabha on the statement given by Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on COVID-19 pandemic, Anand Sharma of the Congress said migrant workers and poor people have to face hardships due to an unplanned lockdown. He said the government should inform the House about the rationale behind the sudden announcement of the lockdown. Derek O'Brien of the TMC also questioned the government's move related to the announcement of lockdown without consulting the states. He also criticized the government for suspension of MP-led funds during this crisis situation. He urged the centre to work with the state governments to control COVID-19 situation. Ravi Prakash Verma of Samajwadi Party also raised fingers on the government's steps related to the lockdown. Tiruchi Seva of the DMK said 50 lakh people have been affected in India from coronavirus and post-lockdown the situation has worsened in the country. K. Keshav Rao of the TRS asked the centre to take states into confidence to tackle the situation arising out after the lockdown. E. Karim of the CPI-M also expressed his views while questioning the central government. Manoj Jha of the RJD also talked about lockdown and criticized the government's policies. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe of the BJP listed out several measures taken by the central government to provide relief to common people during the lockdown and to protect their health. He questioned the preparedness of Maharashtra government, alleging that the state government has not been able to provide proper health facilities to people during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Sahasrabuddhe talked about several government measures like Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, Atmanirbhar Bharat and other welfare initiatives which provided relief to people across the country. RCP Singh of the JDU objected to the use of the word migrant and demanded that it should be immediately stopped as everyone is Indian. Prasanna Acharya of the BJD and Swapan Das Gupta also participated in the discussion, which remained inconclusive. Rajya Sabha has been adjourned for the day.
Labour Minister Santosh Gangwar today said a number of unprecedented steps have been taken by the centre for labour welfare and employment, including for migrant workers across India during COVID-19 pandemic. Labour is in the concurrent list and therefore both states and central governments can legislate on the issues. Further, most of the central labour acts, including the Migrant Labour Act, is being implemented exclusively by the state government. As per the provisions of the Migrant Labour Act, the registration of the migrant workers is to be done by the respective state governments and the data has to be maintained by the state governments. However, in the unprecedented scenario of COVID-19, Labour Ministry took the initiatives to collect the data of migrant workers who are going to their home states during the lockdown. On the basis of information collected from various state governments, around 1 crore migrant workers have gone back to their source state during COVID-19. Labour Minister further added that various initiatives were taken for the welfare of the migrant workers during the lockdown. Immediately after the lockdown, directions were sent from the ministry to all the state governments and union territories, instructing them to provide financial assistance to construction workers from Building and Other Construction Workers Cess Fund. It is estimated that the highest proportion of migrant workers are construction workers. Till date, about 2 crore migrant workers have been provided 5,000 crores directly in their bank accounts from Building and Other Construction Workers Cess Fund being maintained by various states. The recovery rate of COVID-19 has further improved to 78.53%. In all, 82,961 COVID patients have recovered and were discharged during the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry said the total number of recoveries has reached 39,42,360. It said the constant increase in recoveries ensured that the actual caseload of the country is reduced and currently comprises only 19.84% of the total positive cases. Currently, India's case fatality rate is at 1.63%. The total number of positive cases has now reached 50,20,359. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 9,95,933. In the last 24 hours, 1,290 deaths were reported, taking the toll to 82,066. In all, 11,16,842 tests were conducted during the last 24 hours. So far, over 5 crore 94 lakh tests have been conducted across the country.
In Bihar, COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 91%, which is 13% more than the national average. Active cases in the state is regularly decreasing. At present, 13,731 patients are undergoing treatment in various hospitals of the state. Positivity rate has also decreased to 1.46%. Out of 1,61,101 positive cases, 1,46,533 patients have been recovered from the infection in the state so far. Casualties due to corona have gone up to 836. No deaths were reported from the 2 dedicated hospitals in MCH and AIIMS Patna in last 24 hours. The total number of testings has crossed 50,94,000 in the state. The centre has allotted 113 crore rupees to Bihar under COVID management under National Health Mission. In Himachal Pradesh, the state cabinet has decided to allow people to enter or exit the state without e-COVID registration. However, in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases and related fatality, it has been decided not to resume the interstate movement of public transport buses. More from our correspondent.
The state government has decided that there would be no requirement for online registration before entering or exit the state. From today onwards, anyone could enter the state without registration. However, the interstate movement of buses remains suspended till further orders. Meanwhile, Himachal Pradesh recorded 8 more deaths due to COVID-19, pushing the death toll to 88. These fatalities were reported from Mandi, Una, Kangra, Shimla and Soran districts. On the other hand, 419 fresh cases were reported during the last 24 hours, taking the state COVID tally to 10,335. The number of active cases in the state has gone up to 3,801. Sanjeev Sundaryal, AR News, Shimla.
In Maharashtra, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has called upon the Sarpanch of every village to take lead in effective implementation of My Family, My Responsibility initiative so as to contain the second wave of infection well in time if it hits the state. The Chief Minister, along with Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar and other senior ministers, held a meeting with as many as 28,000 Sarpanches of the state via web. A detailed report.
Calling this campaign a people's movement, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray said the government has been fighting this virus for 6 months, but now time has come that every person in the state should do his bit to control the spread of disease. So, this management has to be done at micro level, and therefore all Sarpanch should take responsibility of their villages. They should ensure that all protocols are followed and those violating norms are fined. Sonali Ghadiyar Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Karnataka, State Home Minister Basavaraj Bommai has tested positive for COVID-19. Informing this in a tweet, the minister has said that he is asymptomatic and will be under home quarantine. He has asked those who were in contact with him to take the COVID test. Meanwhile, Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa has informed that the state has benefited from Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Bharat package. Speaking at a meeting organized by the cooperative sector, the Chief Minister said that the state has received 4,525 crore rupees from the centre to strengthen farmers, producers, organizations and agri-based cooperative institutions. This will benefit 1,549 cooperative societies. The COVID surge in the state remains at the peak. Yesterday, 68,365 COVID tests were conducted, out of which the new COVID cases detected were 7,481, and those recovered were 7,406 people. There were 97 deaths due to COVID during the last 24 hours. Currently, there are 4,88,013 persons in home quarantine.
Telangana reported 2,273 fresh COVID-19 cases during the last 24 hours, taking the number of cases reported so far in the state to 1,62,844. The state has conducted over 55,000 tests yesterday. The recovery rate has also improved slightly to 80.71%, with 2,260 more people recovering yesterday. This took the number of recovered people so far in the state to 1,31,447. Microsoft co-founder and philanthropist Bill Gates has said India's willingness to play a big role in manufacturing COVID-19 vaccine and allow it to supply to other developing countries will be a critical part in containing the pandemic globally. He said the world is looking to India for large-scale production of COVID-19 vaccine once it is rolled out. In an exclusive interview to a news agency, Mr. Gates, whose foundation is focusing on fighting the pandemic, called it the next big thing the world has been confronted with after the World War. Scientists and pharmaceutical companies globally are racing against time to find a vaccine for the coronavirus pandemic, which has killed about 9,32,000 people and infected around 24 million. Some of the vaccine candidates have entered the third and final phase of testing. Gates said India will be helping to make sure that there is equity. In the telephonic interview, the Microsoft co-founder talked extensively about India's strength in the production of vaccines and referred to companies like Serum Institute, BioE and Bharat Biotech. Mr. Gates also said that his foundation is having great discussions with India's Niti Aayog, adding the ICMR is looking at the regulatory aspects of COVID-19 vaccines. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Parliament passes Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020. 3 Gujarat-based Ayurveda institutes to be merged into one. Infiltration attempts by Pakistani terrorists have reduced in Jammu and Kashmir in the last 2.5 years, says Minister of State for Home Affairs G. Kishan Reddy. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 78.53%. Over 39,42,000 people recovered so far. Yoshihide Suga elected as Japan's new premier. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates the new leader. Renowned scholar Dr. Kapila Vatsyayan passes away. And today is International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das today assured the industry that the central bank will take all necessary measures to ensure liquidity in the system and promote economic growth. Delivering a keynote address to the members of Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI, at a webinar, he said the economic recovery has not fully entrenched. He said the recovery is likely to be gradual as efforts towards the reopening of the economy are confronted with increasing infections. Mr. Das said financial market conditions in India have significantly eased across segments in response to front-loaded cut in policy repo rate by the RBI. He underlined that the bank investments in commercial papers, bonds, debentures and shares of corporate bodies from April to August 2020 has increased by 5,615 crore rupees. In his address, Mr. Das spoke about the initiatives taken by the central bank to ease the liquidity situation and make available funds to the businesses impacted by the pandemic and subsequent lockdowns. Punjab Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh has said the State Congress will challenge the Essential Commodities Amendment Act 2020 in the court, which was passed in the Lok Sabha yesterday. He alleged the government has imposed a central law on a state subject, thus eroding the federal structure of the country. Asserting that he will not allow the interests of the farmers to be compromised, Captain Amrinder said the enactment of the legislation is clearly a step towards abolition of the MSP regime. He said the legislation talks of encouraging competition among farmers. The Punjab Chief Minister asked how could the poor farmers who are only competing with themselves for survival be able to compete with rival big corporates for protecting their interests.
The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade issued a notification today extending the date of implementation of Toys Quality Control Order 2020 as 1st January 2021 in place of 1st September 2020. This decision allows domestic manufacturers 4 months of extra time to make necessary arrangements for compliance of standards in view of difficulties arising out of COVID-19 pandemic. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar today held discussions with Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri and Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi on e-vehicles. In a tweet, Mr. Javadekar said he has been using an e-car for a year now. He said under FAME India Scheme Phase 2, the government has sanctioned 2,636 e-vehicles charging stations amounting to 500 crore rupees in 62 cities across 24 states and UTs. Today is International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. In a tweet, Union Minister Prakash Javadekar said World Ozone Day is observed to create awareness related to climate change and ozone depletion. He asked people to look for ozone-friendly, HCFC-free, energy-efficient appliances to minimize the ozone layer impact.
Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank today said the national education policy will aid young students in reaching new milestones. Addressing a webinar on creating awareness about National Education Policy 2020, he said the ministry under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will make India a super house of knowledge and research, helping re-establish India as the Vishwa Guru. He said more higher educational institutions will use the mother tongue or local language as a medium of instruction. He further said private higher education institutions too will be encouraged and incentivized to use Indian languages as medium of instruction and offer bilingual programs. As part of the Indo-US Bilateral Defense Cooperation, the 10th Defense Technology and Trade Initiative DTTI group meeting was held virtually yesterday. The meeting was co-chaired by Raj Kumar, Secretary Defense Production, Defense Ministry, and L.N.M. Lord, Under Secretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment from the US Department of Defense. DTTI group meetings are normally held twice a year, alternating between India and the United States. This time, meeting was held virtually on account of COVID pandemic. The aim of the DTTI group is to bring sustained leadership focus to the bilateral defense trade relationship and create opportunities for co-production and co-development of defense equipment. 4 joint working groups focused on land, naval, air and aircraft carrier technologies have been established under DTTI to promote mutually agreed projects within their domains. The groups reported to the co-chairs on the ongoing activities and collaborative opportunities, including a number of near-term projects targeted for completion on priority.
The Indian Army has geared up for any challenge in the eastern Ladakh region with state-of-the-art technologies and equipment. The Indian Army in the last 20 years has mastered the art of warfare in the highest battlefields with suitable gear, food, arms and ammunition. More from our correspondent.
Indian Army soldiers are feeling pride to serve in Ladakh to defend its territories. The Army has taken enough care to choose the soldiers who have served in the region earlier and withstood the tough and hostile weather conditions. With this, Indian Army is able to plug and play with normal acclimatization on arrival. Indian Army has equipped with all necessaries for any eventuality and for long hauls. Each unit has served at least one time in Ladakh region and some have served even 4 times in the region. Apart from that, the Indian Army has improved tremendously various facilities that are required by the soldiers in temperatures varying +20 to -50 in high altitude battlefields. Fire and Fury Corps Major General Arvind Kapoor says,
लद्दाख जैसी जगह में ऑपरेशनल लॉजिस्टिक्स फायर एंड फ्यूरी कोर के लिए बहुत मायना रखता और पिछले 20 साल में हम इसको मास्टर कर चुके हैं। हमारा लॉजिस्टिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आज इतना स्मार्टली बिल्ट अप हो चुका है कि बाहर से आने वाला कोई भी यूनिट या फॉर्मेशन प्लग एंड प्ले मोड में आकर यहाँ पर जो यूनिट्स तैनात हैं उनके साथ जुड़ जाता है और इमीडिएटली इफेक्टिव हो जाता है। आज हमारे पास इतना इक्विपमेंट है कि जैसे कि आपको दिखाया गया, हमने फ्रंट लाइन पे हर एक जवान को स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट स्पेशल विंटर क्लोथिंग और टेंटेज दिया है। स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट फैसिलिटीज में हैबिटेट, मेडिकल, हेल्थ एंड हाइजीन और इक्विपमेंट सस्टेनिंग के सारे सिस्टम ऑलरेडी एस्टैब्लिश हो चुके हैं।
In the last 20 years after the Kargil war and experiences from the victorious war, the Indian Army has mastered the art of war in high-altitude battlefields to turn the disadvantages to an advantage. Ramesh Chandra, All India Radio News, Leh.
Leading scholar of Indian classical dance, art, architecture and art history, Dr. Kapila Vatsyayan passed away this morning. She was 91. Dr. Vatsyayan was a former Member of Parliament and also served as Secretary to the Government in the Ministry of Education, where she was responsible for the establishment of a large number of national institutions of higher education. Dr. Vatsyayan served as the founding director of the Indira Gandhi National Centre for the Arts. She was also former President of India International Centre and an IIC Life Trustee and the chairperson of the IIC International Research Division. In Rajasthan, 9 people died while some people went missing after a boat drowned in Chambal River in Katholi area of Kota district. Police Superintendent of Kota Rural, Sharad Chaudhary, told AIR that the mishap took place under Katholi police station when about 40 people were crossing the river in a boat to visit Kamleshwar Mahadev temple in adjoining Bundi district. The boat overturned after running some distance. He told that relief and rescue operations are going on. Top officials of police and administration have reached the spot. Yoshihide Suga was formally elected today as Japan's new Prime Minister in a parliamentary vote. Mr. Suga replaced former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who resigned earlier in the day because of ill health. Mr. Suga had been chosen as the leader of the ruling party on Monday, virtually assuring his succession. He was Chief Cabinet Secretary and long seen as Abe's right-hand man. Mr. Suga is to launch his own cabinet later in the day. Mr. Suga has stressed his background as a farmer's son and a self-made politician in promising to serve the interests of ordinary people and rural communities. He said he will pursue Abe's unfinished policies and that his top priorities will be fighting the coronavirus and turning around an economy battered by the pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended his heartiest congratulations to Yoshihide Suga on the appointment as Prime Minister of Japan. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said he is looking forward to jointly taking India and Japan's special strategic and global partnership to new heights.
Now let us take a look at the weather updates for the day. The national capital Delhi will have a partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature recorded in the city was 28 degrees Celsius and the maximum is going to be around 37 degrees. In Mumbai, there will be generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The temperature is likely to hover between 26 and 32 degrees Celsius. Chennai is likely to see a generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature was 26 degrees, while the maximum is expected to be around 32 degrees. Kolkata may have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. The minimum temperature was 28 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is likely to be around 33 degrees. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature was recorded at 25 degrees Celsius in Jammu, while the maximum will be around 36 degrees. The city will see a mainly clear sky. In Srinagar, the temperature will hover between 12 and 31 degrees Celsius. Ladakh will also have mainly clear sky. Temperature may hover between 9 and 26 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the minimum temperature was 13 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 28 degrees. The city will have mainly clear sky. Muzaffarabad is also likely to have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 19 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected to be around 36 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Parliament passes Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020. 3 Gujarat-based Ayurveda institutes to be merged into one. Infiltration attempts by Pakistani terrorists have reduced in Jammu and Kashmir in last 2.5 years, says Minister of State for Home Affairs G. Kishan Reddy. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 78.53%. Over 39,42,000 people recovered so far. Yoshihide Suga elected as Japan's new premier. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates the new leader. Renowned scholar Dr. Kapila Vatsyayan passes away. And today is International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. And with that, we end the Midday News.